Hey everyone, I'm Mike from Radial Photography, where we talk about everything photography. Today I am going to show you 3 with 1 bonus, very simple bonus actually, ways of using the radial gradient mask in Lightroom Classic. Now, technically you can do the same thing. Any editing software that has a radial gradient mask, you should be able to do the same effects. Okay, I can't guarantee what each app or editing program, what features they have in the radial gradient. But if it's anything like Lightroom, so Affinity Photo, Luminar, Capture One, etc. All those, you should be able to do the same thing that I'm doing right now in Lightroom Classic. Okay. Now the first one, fairly simple. Just all we are going to do is we're going to create a warm glow from this sunrise that I took earlier this week. It's a morning sunrise in the fall here in upstate New York. So what we want to do is come on over to the masks, kick plus, radial gradient, and then all we want to do is just make our mask. We'll make it kind of big, okay, because we want to feather. It's actually, I already have it feathered. So you can see right here, I have it feathered pretty good right here, okay? All right, starting out, just increase the exposure as much as you want. Now, I don't want to completely blow out that sun, so I want to keep these sun rays. I want to keep some of them there, okay? So I'm going to do that. And then I like to come on over to the whites, add some whites to it too as well. It just expands it a little bit differently than the exposure does. With the blacks, I want to create a little bit of a haze, so I want to do some, I guess, positive black, or I guess it's considered negative blacks, because I'm getting rid of some of the blacks. I don't want to go too much. You can see how the artifacts and stuff, so I don't want to go too much. So right about there. And then we're going to come back all the way down to here. We're going to do some negative clarity to kind of give it a little surreal or I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but kind of like an Orton effect almost. And then dehaze, I want to go negative dehaze. And again, create that haze right up there. Now, the haze is kind of white, and I really don't want that out because again, it's early morning, it's a sunrise. So what I want to do is I want to increase my temperature and get that so it's a nice glow. And then I want to add maybe a little bit of magenta, not too much. Okay. And now here's where we can start playing around with it. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit, bring the whites down a little bit. Okay. And let me see, maybe I will narrow that down a little bit and bring this down this way. Okay. And do I want to, yeah, here we go. I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. That's better. So I didn't want to go all the way, do a complete feather. But you want to feather it quite a bit though. So, and again, I can adjust my tone here. I can even add some saturation to increase some of that glow. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to do the bonus feature or trick you could do with radial gradient. We're going to do another radial gradient, and I probably should have done this one first. So we'll see how this goes. So radial gradient. And what I want to do is I want to create a little bit of a vignette. So I'm going to make my gradient, and I want to make it just to the size of my photo, just like that. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, okay? And I am going to take some of that feather off a little bit. And then what I want to do is I want to invert it. And then I want to go decrease my exposure a little bit, just like that. And you can see how it makes these sun rays, right? Not rays, but the highlights. It makes them kind of glow a little bit more. And then another little trick when I'm doing this, it's like I like to do a double radial gradient, but then this one is going to be in the center, right about there. And I want to add this one. I want to actually increase my feather, and then I want to add a little bit more exposure, some white, and then warm it up a bit here. And you can see it makes all this down here glow, and then it kind of accents. Let me turn this off right here. But you can see how it kind of accents the center, draws your eye into the center of the photo. So those are two tricks right here you can do with a radial gradient. Okay, this next one, it was a moonrise. This is the moon. I can't remember which moon it was. Was it the flower moon? I think it was the flower moon this past summer. And this is the Erie Canal here in Pittsford, New York. And all of the lights are glowing nicely, but as with usual with digital photos, it looks a little too perfect. And I mean, it looks awesome the way it is. Okay. I did some basic editing to it, but I didn't do anything to over here. So what I want to do is I want to create more of a glow, or more of a, like, I don't want to say a haze, but kind of a glow, like a glow coming off these lights. Now I could actually go and zoom in and kind of do each individual one, but for this particular photo, that would be too much. Okay. So what I want to do, get my radial gradient, and I am going to make a narrow gradient. Oops. I want to do that. Turn this a little bit so it's kind of the same angle. Bring this down a little bit. I can bring it out a little bit more. Okay. And let me see, right about there. Okay. Now we're going to worry about the feather later. I want to see how this is going to look. So what I'm going to do is I want to, again, increase my exposure to kind of get that glow. And you can kind of see how it's making everything pop a little bit more. And then what I want to do is increase my whites. Again, kind of adds to that makes it pop. Negative blacks create that haze that you see usually around lights. Okay. And again, we're going to play around with the feather later. Coming back to the temperature in a minute. I want to do a little bit of negative clarity. Not too much here though, because I want to keep some of the detail in there. And then I want to do a negative dehaze. And again, you don't want to go too much with this. Okay. And now I want to add, because it is kind of whitish, so I want to add a little bit of warmth. This one, not as much, because it is, I didn't even add anything to it, did I? There, we're just going to do one. And then we're going to do one on the tint, okay? And now I want to sit here and I want to see if I want to increase. See, now I can increase the glow. Now I don't want to go too much, because you can see if I go too much, you can actually see the circle. So what I want to do is I want to bring that down a little bit, feather it there. And then what I want to do is I can just increase the glow a little bit, make it up higher. And then I can decrease my feather just a little bit more. And I think I'm going to take away a little bit of the haze like that. And do I want to increase my saturation a little bit? No, no, we want to actually decrease it a little bit. Okay. And you can see there's before and there's after. Okay. And again, I can actually change it up a bit and do a little bit less, because you don't want to make it too unnatural. So again, there's before and there's after. All right, this one's going to take a little bit longer. Well, what I did was here, this photo was a daylight photo, and I converted it to an evening / nighttime photo. Let me see. What I want to do is I want to make these headlights glow. All right. You can see I already have the mask. I already tried it out. And well, I'm going to make brand new ones here though, I think. Actually, no, what I could do is I could turn them on one at a time. So the first one I want to do is I want to create the light here with make the headlights on. So the first one is here and here. Okay. So basically what I did was I did one light and then I came on over to here and I clicked duplicate mask. So I made two and then I slid it over, put it on the other one. So that's how you can make two identical masks. And so what we do here is I'm going to click on the mask and you can see here, I increased the exposure. I did not do contrast. I did not do highlights or shadows. I increased my whites a little bit. And then to create a little bit of a haze, I increased my blacks. And then I also, again, because these old headlights are not like the new LED lights. The new LED headlights, I tend to have like a bluish tone or tint to them, where these old headlights were incandescent. So they were more yellowish and golden color. So I wanted to create that color. So I increased the warmth for a little bit of tint. I did not do any saturation in this one whatsoever. And then I came down here and I did the negative dehaze again. I did negative clarity. And again, there are the two matching lights. Now, it looks okay. You know, it's definitely not realistic, I would say. So what I did was I had to make the center brighter. So I made two more. And again, I did the copy trick. I made the center a little bit brighter. So I made it a smaller radial filter. You can see here. Oops, that was it the right one? No, that was the wrong one here. So this one right here. See how here it is before I did that second radial filter. And here it is again. Now that makes it look a little bit more realistic. And again, the first filter I did was a lot bigger. Okay. So again, that makes it a little bit more realistic. Okay. And you play around with how much brightness you want. All right. Now, another thing that I had to do with I believe it was this one right here. I had to do a little bit of a subtract. So here's this right here, this brush. So let me click on this and let me turn this brush off. So you could see that this original radial gradient, it bled on over to the background, which in real life, the headlights are facing the camera. It really wouldn't light up back there that much. So I had to do subtract and then I clicked brush. And then what I did was deleted some of that a little bit. And again, I can just play around with it. And now that looks a little bit more realistic. And I did the same thing on this side. Now over here, it would definitely, I got to do the other one here. Hang on. This one. Okay. And then brush. So this one, I could delete a little bit there to make it a little bit better. There we go. That's much more better. Much more realistic. And so the haze isn't affecting in the background because in real life it wouldn't. Okay. So you want to make it real. So there was that one. Now headlights are shining forward, but yet it's all dark right here. So what I want to do is come on over here and again, more radial filters. You can see right here. And you can, again, adjust the feather. I like to keep the feather kind of high on this because you want it to fade out. And then also with these, I want them to kind of overlap a little bit. So let me move this over here. Oh, let me get out of the way here. Sometimes what you can do is just move it. I know I can make the picture smaller and do it, but it's a little bit faster. And again, I want them to overlap just a little bit. So I can do this. And then let me come over here. And there you go. And again, I did the same exact thing that I did before with the headlights. I increased my exposure. I increased the shadows a little bit on this one. I did the shadows a little bit. Add a little bit of whites. Did the, I guess you call it negative blacks because you're not adding black, you're subtracting black. So that kind of created more of a haze. I again warmed them up a bit, just like that. And again, down here, negative dehazed, but again, not as much here though. Because you don't really need as much on this because this part isn't really glowing. That's just where the light is landing. And clarity, again, I did a little bit of negative clarity. And that is pretty much it right there. This is turning a daylight photo. Okay. Again, that's with the headlights on. And I kind of turned it into a nighttime photo. Well, I hope you enjoyed these radial gradient tricks that you can do in Lightroom Classic. It's nice because you don't have to go into Photoshop. It's sometimes a little bit simpler just to stay in Lightroom, and you can perform a lot of cool stuff just with the features that are already built into Lightroom. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. If you enjoyed my video, please click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help. Ring that bell if you want to be notified when my next video is posted. Until next time, take care, everyone.